Before I had a hockey channel where I talked about hockey. There was hockey, 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 hockey. This was where I envisioned having a channel. The space of Doctor Who. Then I found out it's a very crowded space. There's a lot of different channels doing a lot of similar things to what I would be doing. That being said, today I will take my first foray into Doctor Who, and I'm going to do as quickly as I can my feelings on the series because, oh, Doctor Who fans, I don't usually say Whovians, Doctor Who fans are very split on whether Stephen Moffat sucks, Russell T Davies sucks, Classic Who sucks, Capaldi sucks, Tennant sucks, Matt Smith sucks. I've never heard Chris Eccleston sucks. But everything sucks. Which companion sucks? And these conversations to me are ridiculous. I'm a fan of the show. And I'll let you in on a secret. I'm a fan of the entire show. I've even found a way through the resurrected Doctor Who to go back to the shows that I didn't like when I was a kid and make them watchable by seeing how they fit into the universe, how they fit into what's happening now on the show. For instance, I own every episode ever made, which includes Davros. So when at the start of season 9, Davros is back and they're showing bits from Genesis of the Daleks, I'm like, I've seen that episode. I know exactly what he's talking about. It's a key moment where the Doctor could have wiped out the Daleks from ever having existed, and he didn't do it. So, yeah. And even if he had, they would have found a way to survive because they're the Daleks. That's what they do. But it's funny, I have in my hands here every major release except for Day of the Doctor, which is still with my friend Austin, and I know you have it, Austin. Um, and I mean, if I don't get it back, it's easy enough and cheap enough to replace. But this is a show that does have its poor moments and has its poor seasons. But even in that, it has never dropped in quality to where it was in the 80s. 80s Doctor Who is an exercise in torture watching some of these episodes. And it's not Colin Baker's fault, and it is not at all the fault of the Seventh Doctor whatsoever. I honestly think that of all of the classic Doctors, I mean, Tom Baker's the obvious one that everybody loves. But for me, the Seventh is fantastic. Sylvester McCoy was the way he rolls his R's, the way he speaks. If you haven't seen his version of the Pandorica speech, it is truly awe-inspiring, and it shows you he really could have been fantastic with the right material. So it's not his fault that the show died under his watch because it was poorly run. It was a poor time for the show, and he was a fantastic Doctor in a bad situation. I see the Eighth much the same way. Paul McGann is a tremendous actor, and he is he's really something in terms of his portrayal of the Doctor in the Doctor Who movie. It's the Doctor Who movie that lets him down, not the other way around. That is when the idea of the Doctor having two hearts came out. That is when the idea that the Doctor's half human came out, and it never came back until maybe this past episode, the season finale. Ashildr, she talked about it, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to make everybody's heads explode. Doctor Who is not Shakespeare. Doctor Who is a science fiction show that originally was intended for kids and is still written with kids in mind. Doctor Who is not meant to be this tremendously wonderful linear story. It's not linear, it never will be. And when people talk about, well, that doesn't make sense compared to back in season 7, episode 6, it's like, oh my god, what are you doing? Why are you overanalyzing this shit? It's a science fiction program about traveling back in time and changing things, but certain things are fixed points and certain things aren't, and it doesn't really get into how important something has to be a fixed point, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick overview of my opinion of each season and of each special that I have here. And then in the coming days and weeks, I intend to sit down and rewatch the entire Doctor Who universe. Sometimes it's going to be an exercise in torture. I'm going to do it through Netflix. I'm not necessarily going to do it through my Blu-rays and DVDs. And then, of course, I'll answer this question before it's asked. Well, why do you have Blu-rays and DVDs if you're going to watch it on Netflix? Because I don't know if I'm always going to have Netflix. I don't know if it's always going to be on Netflix. And there are special features on these Blu-rays and DVDs that simply are not on Netflix. And I think I've established myself on my hockey channel as a collector. If you look in the background, you'll see all kinds of Funko Pop figures. A lot of those are Doctor Who related. And I'm still collecting them, and I'm running out of space for them in general. So, I mean, I've got my big TARDIS right there. You see my TARDIS? And Harley Quinn is on top of the TARDIS. Who knows why she's up there? She probably doesn't know why she's up there, and she probably doesn't care. She's just enjoying herself on the TARDIS. And I think Harley Quinn as a companion for the Doctor would be fantastic. I think now that I think about it, if you're going to cross universes, if you put the Doctor into DC, you might be able to fix it. Anyways, this was the first series, of course. This stars the fantastic, wonderful, amazing Chris Eccleston as the Doctor. It was his only series. It features, and I'll just go through this quickly. Rose, great episode. End of the World, okay episode. The Unquiet Dead, good episode. Aliens of London, weird. World War III establishes some interesting things, but it's iffy. Dalek, fantastic episode. The Long Game, very creative, good episode. Father's Day, very creative, fantastic episode. The Empty Child, creepy and awesome. The Doctor Dances, which is part 2 of The Empty Child, fantastic and awesome. Boomtown, very good way to take one of the villains from Aliens of London World War III and humanize them and save what was really a kind of a weird two-parter and make it good again. Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways, a two-parter there. Absolutely amazing solution to the whole Bad Wolf mystery and absolutely amazing ending for that series. It is a absolute crying shame that he only had one run as the Doctor, because if he'd had the 3 seasons that the other Doctors have had, he would be everybody's favorite Doctor. He didn't come in wearing a suit. He didn't come in goofy. He came in with his own accent. He came in with a leather jacket, and he played it straight. And towards the end of his run, he really started to show the darker side of the Doctor and why he was as goofy as he was, and that there was a lot of dark secrets there. Billie Piper as Rose. I have to say, her performance in Series 1, she might be the most beautiful woman I've ever seen not named Scarlett Johansson. Absolutely drop-dead gorgeous throughout that series. And she doesn't have to wear sleazy outfits, and she doesn't have to... I know after she left this show, she did Confessions of a Call Girl, that series, whatever. I have no interest in that, because to me what made her attractive wasn't her figure as much as it was just her whole aura and nature, and she was always covered up, and that was good for her. I think there's a romantic connection there, but they don't really get into it. And then this series happens. Now, everybody loves David Tennant, and I love David Tennant, and I love David Tennant, and I love Doctor and Rose, and everybody talks about how great this love story is. Having binge watched it, I don't know what you're watching. So let's go through this one. Christmas Invasion, great episode. No romance there. New Earth, there's romance only because Cassandra possesses Rose and tells the Doctor how she feels about him. And there's a cute little kiss scene there. It's kind of interesting and funny. Tooth and Claw, I'm not a big fan of Tooth and Claw. When they get into vampires and werewolves, I go kind of eh. School Reunion, it is fun to see Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer being a villain on the show, but it's an iffy episode to me. Really, the Sarah Jane and K9 is what makes the episode so beloved to everybody. The Girl in the Fireplace, absolutely smack dab, fantastic, amazing, awesome episode. No romance between Rose and the Doctor. The Doctor has a romance with the girl in the fireplace in that episode. Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, that's a two-parter where they go to the alternate universe. Really, really well done. And it was when the show starts to get more serious. You could tell the special effects were getting better, and the show was getting better. The Idiot's Lantern, not a very good episode. And there's no real romance between the Doctor and Rose in that one. The Impossible Planet, followed by the Satan Pit. It's a very dark two-parter. Very, very, very dark. Although I will say that it touches on some stuff that it really gets into the nature of the Doctor and how far he'll go for Rose. So I'll kind of accept the love idea there, I guess. Love and Monsters is terrible. Fear Her is terrible. Fear Her is absolutely abysmal. It is. They're attacked by Rose is attacked by a squiggle. Okay, she's attacked by a squiggle, and it is dumb, and it features a little kid trying to sound demonic, and it is a terrible episode. And then it's followed up by Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, which is the greatest two-parter in the history of the show. What this series does is it shows that Russell T Davies in his history was very good at doing fantastic two-part finales. Season 1, Season 2, they're both hit right out of the park. And what that does is it hides the fact that there are weak episodes during the seasons. Weak episodes. But Series 2, of course, ends with the departure of Rose, and everybody talks about what a great love story it is, but really, the love story in this is barely in it. Most of the adventures where they talk about all these romantic adventures, they don't even show on the show. They talk about them to other people like, oh, we went here and there was these ice waves, and it's like, okay, well, we never saw any of that. So I've always found that whole Doctor and Rose thing, and I agree, it's a great love story, but it's iffy because the Doctor is in love with other women during that same series. Series 3. Here comes Martha, the whiniest of all of the companions. She is whiny, and she whines, and have I mentioned what a whiner she is? She puts herself in terrible situations, and then she goes, wait a minute, I wouldn't be in this situation if the Doctor hadn't taken me with him in the TARDIS. So it's his fault I'm in this situation. It's like, no, he told you to stay put. You didn't stay put. This is your fault. Anyways, Season 3, which features the finale of Jack Harkness in the series, minus cameos in the 4th series, when all of them were in the 4th series. The 3rd series has The Runaway Bride, which doesn't feature Martha, it features Donna. Okay episode. Donna's mildly aggravating in it. I remember when I saw that, and I mean, this was binge watching, I'm like, oh, and she's the companion next year? I don't know if I want to watch Series 4. And I really genuinely felt that way. Smith and Jones, I thought was cute, interesting. The talking rhinos, go, flow, no, show, go, do, show. I hate that. I think that is the goofiest shit ever. And Russell T Davies, one of the criticisms of him is that his idea of aliens is just humans with animal heads on them, and that's his aliens. And since I read that, that's all I see when I watch Russell T Davies episodes. The Shakespeare Code is okay. Gridlock is fantastic. I really enjoy Gridlock. I'm not sure why, but I really enjoy Gridlock. Daleks in Manhattan, An Evolution of the Daleks. I've talked about this on my other channel. I'll talk about it here now that this is a new channel. The worst two-parter in the history of Doctor Who. It is a terrible idea from the beginning, and then the setup, the execution, all of it is terrible. The highlight is I have Dalek Sec in my collection back there, and Dalek Sec was an interesting idea that just nothing and then it's just dead, and you go, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting, and then he's dead. Okay, I'm really glad I spent 2 hours watching this. After that is the Lazarus Experiment, which is so goofy. It is so hard to take that episode seriously. And then 42, which is good. Burn With Me is one of my favorite lines ever. Human Nature and the Family of Blood. Here's where I'm going to upset Whovians. I hate Family of Blood. Okay? I hate that two-parter. I hate it to death. I absolutely detest it. The only part I like is the last 40 seconds where he takes the family and he plunges them into horrible, horrible fates for all of eternity. I hate it. I've tried it numerous times to watch it. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm missing something. I hate it. That's followed by Blink, which to this day is one of the greatest episodes ever, featuring a companion that wasn't a companion, and she should have been. Followed by Utopia, which is the beginning of a three-parter with the sound of drums and Last of the Time Lords. And there's more romance between the Master and the Doctor than there ever was between the Doctor and Rose. And the show tiptoes around it, but it's there. You can feel there's some kind of tension, sexual tension between the Master and the Doctor. And it's probably because Russell T Davies, being gay himself, there was always talk that he pushed that agenda into the show. And to me, it showed there. It showed. There's some fantastic moments in Last of the Time Lords. Yes, the Love Conquers All theme happens too much. Yes, the Doctor basically becomes Jesus in the end, which is weird, I will admit. But often Doctor Who writes itself into a corner and has a hard time getting itself out of said corner. So that's series 3. And then Martha decides to just walk away. And it's the greatest exit in the history of the show. Is that Martha just said, "You don't love me, so yeah, I'm done." And it's great. It's perfect. That is something that makes that series work. Series 4. Oh, look, it's Donna. And I was nervous about Series 4 when I started it. So, Voyage of the Damned doesn't feature Donna. It features Kylie Minogue and the starship Titanic, which is goofy, but it works. And it works because there were so many classic Doctor Who lines of "come with me if you want to live" kind of thing, and I'm in charge, and I'm the greatest in the world. And then as Bella Cafalata, which is one of the greatest names in the history of Doctor Who. That's followed by Partners in Crime, which is so much fun. Partners in Crime is an episode where I dreaded. I'm like, oh god, it's Donna. And then as soon as they're mouthing words at each other through the doors, and the lady from this company, from the Adipose company, the Adipose lady's watching back and forth, like, are we interrupting something? And it's so great, and it sets up a tremendous episode. And at the end of that episode, Donna says right out, "Look, I'm not romantically interested. I don't, want any of that crap. Let's just go." And it works because of that. Because after 3 seasons, you get tired of that. You spend 2 seasons with the Doctor maybe being in love with Rose, and Rose maybe being in love with the Doctor, and then the third series, Martha's just all gaga over the Doctor, but at the same time, she's bitching at him constantly. So I understand why he wasn't interested. And then Donna's just like, no. And then their first episode on an adventure is The Fires of Pompeii, which is a great episode. Followed by Planet of the Ood, which is amazing. When the Ood are first in the show, I was like, oh, they got the red eyes, and this is kind of goofy, and then this central brain thing. The Planet of the Ood really humanizes them and makes them a fantastic character that hasn't been seen since. I know they've had cameos in certain episodes, but I really wish they'd get more into the Ood. I'm hoping that in next season's series, there's an episode on the Planet of the Ood where they deal with Peter Capaldi and they connect with him, because I really think they're the kind of alien that Capaldi would connect with. Following that is the Sontaran Stratagem and Poison Sky, which is a two-parter with the Sontarans. They are so fucking weak in that two-parter. They're just weak, and it's not a very good two-parter. It really isn't. And this is when when Donna's family kind of is aggravating a little bit, but it's okay. And Martha shows up, of course, in this one too. And then "Are You My Mummy" shows up in that one, and that line alone makes it worth sitting through the two parts. The Doctor's daughter, Jenny, one of the biggest criticisms of Doctor Who is that she's never brought back, even though she's shown regenerating. And then Russell T Davies, for no reason, I believe it was Russell T Davies or Stephen Moffat, one of the others said, "Oh, well, Jenny's dead." When somebody asked about that, "Oh, well, Jenny's dead by now." And it's like, can you guys really do that? Like, and the actress that played the Doctor's daughter in that is actually the daughter of the fifth Doctor, okay, Peter Davison, and is now married to David Tennant, who must have really liked what he saw in those leather pants in that episode because he married her after. So it's weird. She is the daughter of a doctor, married to the Doctor and played the daughter of the Doctor that she's married to now on the show Doctor Who. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And for that reason alone, I really hope at some point, sometime, Georgina Moffat comes to the show one more time as Jenny. Again, Capaldi's on this show. This could be his last series. Bring Jenny in just for one episode. One, and she'd recognize him right away because it's her dad. The Unicorn and the Wasp is terrible. I hate it. Agatha Christie, that whole thing that can just go. Some of the period piece episodes to me are just throwaways. Silence of the Library and Forest of the Dead has grown on me. Hey, Who Turned Out the Lights? It's fantastic. And the idea of these organisms that live in the shadows and will devour you, it's fantastic until logic takes it out, but don't think about logic. Just think about how amazing this episode is and you'll be fine. It introduces River Song, and I hated River Song. Absolutely hated her. I hated her so much in that episode. It is amazing. You'll notice a change as I go along here. Midnight is perfect. Midnight is absolutely a perfect episode. Great standalone. You don't even have to be a Doctor Who fan to appreciate Midnight. Turn Left is perfect. The Stolen Earth and Journey's End are a little over the top and a little over dramatic, but it's fantastic when you see all of the companions together. It is great to see all the companions together. And then Jackie trying to get up to the console and the Doctor going, no, Jackie, just stand over there, because he doesn't want her anywhere near it. And then after that run was over and Donna, her brain was going to explode, we have Planet of the Dead, which has Michelle Ryan, who really deserves more than one episode. This is a good episode. It's goofy. Notice the ant heads on human bodies. That's Russell T Davies for you. I can't unsee it now. After it got mentioned to me, I'm like, yeah, that's what he does, which is an 80s thing. It's a callback to the 80s. Following that is The Next Doctor, starring David Morrissey, who would go on to be the governor on Walking Dead. And of course, this was the big tease. Is this the next Doctor? And it wasn't. More Cybermen. Cybermen are the weakest of all of the villains in Doctor Who. And then Waters of Mars. I own this because I have to. I had to have every episode in the series. This was the last episode I bought. It's goofy, and the ending is really overly dramatic. I didn't like the ending of it. It's kind of like, oh, the Doctor's messing where he shouldn't be messing, so he's going to have to pay for that. And I understand that sentiment, but there should have been a better way to do it. I thought it was really heavy-handed for a show for kids. Did she kill herself, Daddy? I don't know if this is for kids. And then the last of David Tennant is The End of Time 1 and 2. And this gets a lot of people going. A lot of people going on this one. And let me just tell you right now, I absolutely love End of Time Parts 1 and 2. Is it goofy? Yep. Is the Master way overpowered? Absolutely. Absolutely overpowered. But it's just so fantastic, and it's saved by Bernard Cribbins. When you deal with Wolf, there's nobody in the show's history that's made me cry like Wolf. And when I watch The End of Time Part 2 and he does the salute with tears in his eyes, I start bawling. I'm like, damn it, Wolf. I almost made it. I almost made it this time. And then Wolf starts crying, and then I'm gone. It is sad that he passed away. But he will always be remembered for this and for Fawlty Towers. And his part in Fawlty Towers is fantastic as well. He was a great character actor and underutilized, it seems, because I don't know what he did in between, but fantastic character actor. And of course, Timothy Dalton in this series really, really spoiled us. He really, really spoiled us in this. It was just amazing. And to me, John Sim really owned the Master in this part, and I never thought I'd want to see anybody play the Master again. So that is the end of the David Tennant era. I'm going to upload this video because this is 24 minutes, and I will continue with the Matt Smith through Capaldi era. I will upload another video in a bit here. So this is my review of just a general over the top. It is over the top. General as quickly as I can to review all of this. Okay, so you'll notice all these logos, it's all the same logo, and then it all changed. So that's the Russell T Davies. Known for some weak episodes, but some great finishes. And he really knew how to finish up well with David Tennant, even though the ending is really over the top, dramatic, and hammy. But they knew that, and they even play on that later. And I'll get into that with the other half of this video that you'll see in a bit. If you're not so put off by this video, you don't bother.